Man, today's episode was jam-packed because there's so much going on in the NBA, including Bradley Beal. Now the Sun. Does that mean Damian Lillard gets to feel the heat? The NBA draft is almost here. Victor is not the story. It's the number 2 and 3. And who I would take it to is MJ going to go ahead and screw it up in Charlotte one more time. One of the biggest stories in baseball no one talked about pissed me off to no end. I'll discuss that as well. I got wild animals. We have all sorts of interesting things going on. It's a lot, and you're going to have to enjoy it all right now. What's up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the Tricky Guy Sports Podcast. It's your host, Brent Bilski, a.k.a. Double B. I'm happy today. There's a lot of things we're going to get into. So many activities. Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, with this clock going on me, hopefully we can get to it all because I got a lot of stuff to bring you.
Oh, no.
It's all right. It's all right, babies. We'll get into it. We'll have some fun here. I mean, there's obviously the NBA draft. That's huge. There's a story out of, it's actually a baseball story, and bear with me. It's a story that needs to be told, and it's one of the most, I'll talk about that in a little bit, and some other things going on, Juneteenth and Father's Day happening. I got some funny videos for you. We got a whole thing. We got a whole smorgasbord, as it would be called. But let's kick right into it with the NBA draft coming up probably a day or two after this will be released. There's already things happening in the National Basketball Association that are causing domino effects and this and that. It's a very exciting time in the NBA. As for one, the sun has now rised in Phoenix for Mr. Bradley Beal. And besides the fact that this gives the Suns serious contention for the next few years with this trade, this is also a big move because what it means for other teams that I like, for other organizations, and what it all could mean going forward, including the NBA draft. It's all interconnected, man. It's all interconnected. But in case you missed it, Bradley Beal, the former Washington Wizards star, is now a Phoenix Sun. So now you got KD, you got Booker, you got Ayton out there, you got Bradley Beal. So now you have not one, not two, not three, but 4 max players.
Oh, good for you.
And basically no money to pay anyone else on a team that was already top heavy. But, hey, you know, as long as you can get a few ring chasers there for minimum contracts, you got yourself a pretty decent situation. So, yes, the Washington Wizards sent 3-time All-Star Bradley Beal to the Phoenix Suns, and the Phoenix Suns sent back to Washington Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, and several second-round picks. This, by the way, there's a couple things you need to know about this trade in case you had a couple questions. For one being, a lot of people brought up that Bradley Beal and, you know, a star young player who's under contract for the next few years, how in the hell did all they get back from Washington was Chris Paul, who's most likely going to be gone? I'll discuss that in a second. So basically Landry Shamet and just some second-round draft picks. No first-round picks, no star players in return. The big issue here that a lot of people didn't know was that Bradley Beal was the only player. And when I say the only player, I mean the only player in the NBA whose contract actually had a no-trade clause.
What does that do? Does that blow your mind?
So he had the opportunity to nix any trade, and so unless he said, I want to go here or I want to go there, Washington was basically up Poops Creek without a paddle trying to get towards the rebuild. So this, frees up some money. This gives them some draft picks back. This does provide them some opportunities, but that's one of the reasons why you didn't see more of a, quote, blockbuster for a talent like Bradley Beal to go out of Washington, and all they got back was what they got, is because there was a no-trade clause in Bradley Beal's contract. That's number one. Number two, and I found this very interesting, and I would wonder in other businesses, would this be maybe a little frowned upon? I'm going to call this insider trading is what I'm going to call this.
All right, you got me. That's an awesome nickname.
Do y'all know that with the Phoenix Suns Washington Wizards trade, which a lot of people are considering a fleece, besides the fact that it's the Bradley Beal issue of the no trade clause, but just the fact that Bradley Beal gets sent to Phoenix basically makes them a very solidified solid 4 for only a soon-to-be gone Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, and some second-round draft picks. Just so you know, the new CEO of the Phoenix Suns is Josh Bartelstein, along with their new owner, Ishbia, who's been around just for a little little bit, along with the new head coach and all the other stuff they got going on. The new CEO is Josh Bartelstein. He is the son of Mark Bartelstein. You know why that's interesting? Because Mark Bartelstein is Bradley Beal's agent. He's Bradley Beal's agent. So a father's son, a CEO, a brand new CEO, basically gets to send not that much to go back and get a star, and he just happened to negotiate it with the guy who just happened to be his dad. And oh, by the way, the whole deal went down on Father's Day. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Is this real life?
I mean, that's hard to make up. I didn't know that little fun fact until they pointed it out to me, but Jesus Christ. So basically, the CEO, the new CEO of the Phoenix Suns, who was able to give away very little to get something very solid back, just happened to make a deal with the agent for Bradley Beal, who just happened to be the new CEO's son's father. Oh my God, that's pretty crazy to me.
What does that do? Did that blow your mind?
Whole thing was pretty crazy for Chris Paul too, by the way. He found out about this whole trade that went down, and now that he's a Washington Wizard, on a damn plane. He was discussing this actually today on Good Morning America, and apparently he was just as surprised as the rest of us that this blockbuster went down.
I was surprised too. I found out on the plane yesterday flying here for this. You know, in this league, anything can happen, so you just figure out what's next.
You literally found out on the plane.
Absolutely.
Wow. What was your first reaction?
Don't push him any further. He's trying to be nice about
Yeah,
it.
he is, right?
Yeah. What's happening?
So yeah, life comes at you fast, even for CP3. And again, this deal could take a few days now because of Chris Paul specifically. So what they're trying to do is figure out, what the hell do we do with Chris Paul? Do we try to work out a trade in the next few days? Maybe by the time you come and watch this, there will be something that goes down. Or do they maybe discuss a buyout, because there is a way to buy him out, and that way he can get his money this year and then go ring chase somewhere else. And of course, I said Los Angeles. That makes perfect sense to me. And I mean, we can discuss later what this means for Phoenix. I mean, the fact is now they have 3 of the top 20 active players as the score points per game right now. You got Kevin Durant, second in the league at 27 points per game. Devin Booker, 24. Now Bradley Beal at 22.5. It is still a very top-heavy team. I really don't like that as far as looking at, very few super teams have actually worked. If you go back and look at the history of the super teams, short of the Warriors, who were already good. You remember the Lakers even tried it with Peyton and them and Malone back in the day. That didn't work. Brooklyn obviously hasn't worked. There's been a lot of super teams. Even Miami didn't really live up to its hype. We're learning through the Denvers and the Golden States and others, build through the draft, do it slow, develop team chemistry, all that type of stuff. So what this all means for Phoenix is still, there's a lot to be said, and there's a whole season and a training camp and a preseason and a regular season before we really see what the Phoenix Suns have. Obviously, there's a lot of reasons to be excited if you're a Suns fan, because that's a great core of 4 max level players who you had to pay max level. And shout out to Matt Ishbia, the new Suns owner, for dropping the bucket and coming in. I mean, this is Mark Cuban-esque. This is the closest I've seen to a Mark Cuban, where he just came into a kind of smaller market organization in Phoenix and said, you know what? I don't give a damn. I got this money. I want a title.
Money, money, money. Money, money, money.
You know what I mean? I'm going to get rid of the coach. I don't care that his wife is sick and all that. That was tragic. I'm going to get rid of him. I'm going to go get Kevin Durant out there. I'm going to trade for him. I'm going to go get Bradley Beal, and I'm going to trade for him. I got 4 max players in a new CBA. I don't give a damn. I'm going to drop all that money, and I'm going to go ahead and get into the second tier of the new so-called, death level of the luxury tax, and I'm going to pay all that extra tax because it's my money. I got what I want. I do what I want. It's my team.
Whatever, I do what I want.
I like that. I'm cool with it. But the bigger issue, and this is where we'll go into the rest of this conversation, is what does this mean for the rest of the league? And what does it mean specifically for that guy, Chris Paul? And where can he go? Now, what is crazy to me, because I have been saying from day one, once I found out that Phoenix was already, the rumors and, the rumor mill got out that they were going to go ahead and try to move CP3 and his older, being laters in years and all that, and try to figure out what to do with him. And where can he go? I was like, dude, he's got to go to Los Angeles. He's got to go to the LA Lakers, right? I mean, this is a no-brainer. You send him to Los Angeles Lakers with his buddy, his banana boat buddy, LeBron James, in a team who had issues in the playoffs with their point guards in D'Angelo Russell and Schroeder and all the little things they had there. LeBron, you know, being older, doesn't seem to want to carry the offense as much. Chris Paul and Anthony Davis pick and roll would be absolutely phenomenal. So that's great, right? I figured it out. You send Chris Paul to Los Angeles.
Real man of genius.
I'm the smartest man alive. I got this done. Well, the new rumor, and we'll see what happens, but that it is that he's going to go to L.A., but that he wants to go to the Clippers. Why on God's green earth, if you're Chris Paul, do you want to go back to that organization? The Los Angeles Clippers? Instead of the Lakers? That's got to be, this is early. We still have a lot of things to figure out. I would like to think Chris Paul, a smart guy who does want to go back to LA, that's where his family is, would want to go to an organization that A, doesn't have, you know, Russell freaking Westbrook right now. As I heard, there was a report that maybe they want to put Westbrook and Chris Paul together. That might be the dumbest idea I've ever heard. Not to mention, it's, I don't know, the Clippers, who have always been the second-tier team in Los Angeles. He knows this more than anyone. He played there and spent most of his big years there. And other than some romanticized version of what it is, it's what it is. I mean, yes, the new owner is also kind of Cuban-esque and Ballmer. He's fun. Like I said, he wants to make sure you all get a quick pee, which I do appreciate. That he put like in his new stadium in Los Angeles. Clippers are going to get a new stadium, so that's kind of cool. And it's going to have like one toilet for every person in the building. You can just, you know, be IP freely. You can sign your name now as IP freely. Pee. You can just, you know, 10 seconds. You walk in, you pee. Matter of fact, someone will come out VIP. They'll give you a bucket. You can just pee right there. Pee. And you can go ahead and get it done. That's a side note. But I mean, honestly, and being serious here, what? The Clippers? What? I don't even get it. I don't understand. I don't understand if that's the truth, that if he wants to go back to Los Angeles, that he wouldn't want to go with what I thought was his banana boat best buddy in LeBron James in a team that just made the Western Conference Finals. And while I don't think they were that great, I think they got kind of a lucky schedule there, that if you're a Lakers fan and you're someone who's like Chris Paul looking for a ring at the end of your career, what's a better situation that you have right now? If you're the LA Lakers who don't have a lot of money, and then you don't have a lot of, you know, assets and stuff to trade right now, he's really one of the only things that you can go out and get that's not going to require you to empty a cupboard that's already bare. So this seems like a perfect match. He wants to go back to LA. I thought everything was perfect, and now I want to hear that he wants to go to Los Angeles, but he wants to go to the Los Angeles Clippers. What?
I don't get it. I don't get it.
So that's a whole mess that we'll try to figure out later. But yes, Bradley Beal's now at Phoenix Sun. Chris Paul's a Wizard for a day. After he gets done with this little thing on GMA here, probably in a day or two, we'll find out either he's going to get bought out or traded. Where is he going to go? I don't think he should go to the Clippers. I think he should go to the Los Angeles Lakers. And so that is all going to play itself out, and we'll see. However, I do have a called shot that the reports are starting to get a lot stronger, and I've been telling you this, and I'm right, so I'm bringing this segment back. I called this shot, even though it hasn't happened yet. I am like at least 65% sure this is going to happen, and I'll explain why.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
He's calling his shot.
When we discussed the other options for Bradley Beal to go where he might go, the other one was the Miami Heat. And apparently there were some initial talks, but not a ton of interest, because apparently Miami is thinking the exact same thing I am. We are on the same page. I said this a week ago, and I'm going to replay it one more time because new reports are actually backing me up that it's the other person. It's a certain time. It's about Dame time they go get somebody else. You have one opportunity to give yourself a 3 to 4 year window. You go get Damian Lillard. That's it. End of story. I don't want to hear the rest. If you are the Miami Heat, you have one job and one job this offseason. That is to trade whatever you can, not named Jimmy Butler or Bam Adebayo, and you go get Damian Lillard, and you take the rest of your misfit toys and you put yourself a 3 to 4 year window. You go get it done. You give them one opportunity to do it, and that's the only way you're going to do it, is you go get Damian Lillard.
I like that idea, and I will support it.
Thank you. I agree, because it's the only way you really, that three together with Bam and Damian already being friends and Jimmy being the dog and the killer that he is, and he wouldn't have to be an offensive option all the time, which he really doesn't seem to like. You know, Mr. Team doesn't want to do anything personal. By the way, that's my new TikTok channel. If you want to go ahead and check that out, at Tricky Guy Sports. Search on TikTok if you're one of the TikTok addicts like me. Come on, baby. Go to Tricky Guy Sports, baby. It's real easy to find. I got videos for you, baby. You're going to love it. But other than that, I mean, as always, I made an excellent point, and I'm a handsome beast at that.
I am the smartest man alive!
Ladies, you can do a lot worse than me is all I'm saying. But back to the reports. So Bleachers reports Chris Haynes has said what I'm thinking, what Miami is apparently thinking, that they are now focused on going ahead and trying to acquire All-Star Damian Lillard, and this could finally be the summer that he seeks a deal. And I'll go ahead and give you a little bit of the report here because this is exactly what Miami needs to do.
And I read.
Who's, obviously Lillard, the subject of trade rumors for several years. He's affirmed his loyalty to Portland. However, he is named the Heat as one of the two teams that he's interested in. And I did play this for you a while back, but in case you missed it, yes, Damian Lillard, who has been very loyal to Portland and has been very strong in that aspect. I love his loyalty and all that. Is finally getting a little bit older here. He's getting into 33 in July. Or maybe next July. I mean, if he's not, he's 33-ish. Anyways, he did say on a podcast recently that he is starting to maybe look other pastures, and one of the only teams he brought up was the Miami Heat.
Miami is the obvious one, and Bam is my dog. Bam is my dog for real. But I mean, I think Miami the obvious one. Brooklyn is obvious one. Is another obvious one because Mikal Bridges is my dog too. So I mean. And both are, capable.
Yeah, so, I mean, this works out for a lot of reasons, but the Miami Heat could really use an offensive clutch guy at the end. As I've said before, Jimmy Butler, as much as I love me some Jimmy Butler, was just hit or miss in the finals, wasn't he? He looked worn down. He wasn't offensively aggressive. He would drive to the lane, seem to have a layup or a shot, and try to kick it out to one of his misfit toy undrafted free agent shooters instead of try to be aggressive late. There is nobody. And I'll even put De'Aaron Fox and Steph Curry, who, Mr. Clutch Player of the Year just voted last year, and Steph Curry, one of the best finishers. I'll throw LeBron. I'll throw some other names in there. There is no one, and I mean no one, that you can argue that is better at finishing in clutch situations and in the fourth quarter than that guy. Damian Lillard is freaking Dame time for a reason. He did not get that nickname just because it kind of goes with his name, as cute as it is.
All right, you got me. That's an awesome nickname.
When he puts it up here and says this, and he says that it's Dame time, it means it's about Dame time. You get the hell out of my way, and I finish these bitches off for us because that's what I do. Damian Lillard is not just one of the best point guards, not just one of the best scorers, a guy who extends the floor, is able to go 5-6 foot back and be able to hit really long shots, is tricky, has all the shifty Chris Paul abilities to get fouls and just get your best defenders in foul trouble and cause headaches that way. He is a nightmare. He is a headache. He is loyal. He's a leader. He is clutch. He's a solid dude, and he's a killer. He is, I'm salivating for the Miami Heat to go ahead and make this actually happen. You really have to go ahead and do this. You have no other job in the offseason. And besides, I'd be so excited to see, again, Damian, Jimmy, and Bam together. Hopefully it was still like, at least Duncan Robinson and Vincent and Strus and a few guys behind them. You probably have to give up Hero, some draft picks. I'd throw in Kyle Lowry if they would take it to make it all work. But Damian Lillard to Miami is the goal, and it's the only goal. Damian has now said in a podcast for the first time in a while that he wouldn't mind going somewhere, and that's the team that he'd like going to. And to make this even more just juicy and I just want to is that the Portland Trailblazers this year have the number 3 pick. So right before the NBA draft comes out is probably when you should be watching this. So the Portland Trailblazers and the Charlotte Hornets have the number 2 and the number 3. Charlotte Hornets have the number 2 respectively. Portland Trailblazers have the number 3 pick. Herein lies the rub. There is a kid who might be thrown in their lap because MJ and Charlotte MJ's last dance as a Hornets owner and manager and the guy who gets to make the decisions might make just one more bad one, unfortunately, and leave Scoot Henderson at number 3 to Portland. This gives them all sorts of opportunities, many that could leave Damian exposed to go ahead and go to a contender, possibly with his buddy Bam out there in the Miami Heat, because Scoot Henderson is a very good point guard prospect, a very solid one. And if you're Damian Lillard, I don't think, and he said as much, he's not there. He's tired of rebuilding. He's 33 years old. He's tired of rebuilding. He doesn't want to do it anymore. So if you're Portland and you get number 3, Scoot Henderson, to fall into your lap, there are going to be teams who are going to try to trade up to come get him. But the problem is, who are you going to get? Is it enough to keep Damian Lillard excited? The biggest name I've heard is Zion Williamson. And besides the fact that he's banging OnlyFans hoes in between his, announcements of his, gender reveals and all that, the fact is he's had an issue with injuries and an issue with weight.
Cry me a river, you fat baby. You disgust me.
As good as he can be, he's only played 114 games in the 3 or 4 years he's been in the league. I mean, he was missed almost all the last 2 seasons. I mean, just because he can put up numbers, I don't think Damian's going to get excited about some fat guy who likes to only play here and there and seems more concerned with banging every stripper and hooker he can find on the street than he does about actually worrying about staying in a certain weight and playing basketball. I don't think that excites Damian Lillard. His other buddy Bridges, they said it really isn't a trade issue. So the fact that Portland may have number 3 and get Scoot Henderson and want to make some trade for some veterans to go ahead and keep Damian happy, it doesn't seem like they're going to be able to get what they need to keep Damian happy. The smarter move, if you're Portland, is to go ahead and say, okay, we got the new point guard of the future. Let's get rid of Damian, the older guy who's been loyal, who's been great to us and done everything we've ever asked him to do. Let's let him go to a contender in the Miami Heat, who would be the number 1 contender for the next few years in the Eastern Conference. Boston Celtics, we're going to see what they're going to do. Philly's about to get broken up. Milwaukee, well, it'll be Miami and Milwaukee would be the 1 and 2 argument then for the best contenders in the Eastern Conference. So if you're Portland, this just seems like the more logical solution is that you're not going to get, you might as well wish, for a golden toilet and $1 billion if you really think that the number 3 pick is going to get you enough veterans and enough of a championship contender out in small market Portland for Damian to stay excited. What makes more sense is to go ahead, try to get some draft picks, try to get some talent, maybe throw in a veteran, and let the guy go who's done everything he can for you, and let him go somewhere he actually wants to go. Outside of your conference, you'll only see him a couple more times a year. You won't have to trade him to the Western Conference. Let him go to Miami. Let him be happy. Let me be happy. Let America at least have one team that we can root for that's not going to be a bunch of dang foreigners coming around taking our dubs. As I did a podcast about that before, the foreign global warning invasion that I called it, basically, at least in Miami, we would have, great contenders as far as good American-born guys and Damian and, Jimmy and then Bam. And then we'd have in Phoenix, we'd have a decent team. And you know what I mean? Whatever. That's a whole pro-America thing I'm into. But be careful with the global takeovers. We're about to get into it. It's happening. I would love to see Damian go to Miami. I think it makes sense for Portland because at number 3, Scoot Henderson is a dog. And he is a hell of a prospect. In case you don't know who Scoot Henderson is, this is a guy out of the G League here, but he's kind of like a more built John Morant and possibly a better shooter coming out of the draft. So let's go ahead and switch into the NBA draft because there are some more dominoes that can fall here. Like I said, so many things I'm so excited. Like Jesse Spano, like JoJo the Indian boy with a pretty new pet. Just ready to go, ready to rock.
I'm so excited!
All right, chill, Jesse. I don't want to get into the whole thing. So yeah, in case you haven't seen him, I mean, just so you can get at least a quick idea, this is Scoot Henderson, the guy who might fall at number 3 here and would be, a perfect replacement for a rebuilding Portland to go ahead and move on and let Damian go. This kid's nice, man. He's got the attitude for it. He's a hell of a player here. That's him, by the way, going on Victor. He's about to go take a reverse on the Mr. Greatest Prospect Ever, Victor Wembanyama. Look at that. Just shifty, nice handle. Obviously fearless. Doesn't seem to give a damn much about Victor being down there. Aggressive as hell. Look at this. Just, athletic, decent height, build for a young kid. again, has all the swag and aggressiveness you want to. I mean, he's not going to be afraid of the lights, and this is just F your mother dunks. Oh, my God. I mean, this kid could really be something. Look at that. 2 more replays of this. Give me your goddamn shoes, bitch. Like, that is just, ooh. Me likey Scoot Henderson. If you're Portland, you likey Scoot Henderson. Let Damian go to Miami. Fits everyone's, agenda and what they need and what they could do going forward. That kid is the real deal. However, on the other side of this, and this is where another thing really gets interesting here, other than the obvious where the Spurs are going to take Victor Wembanyama with number 1, that's already a foregone conclusion. The Spurs are going to go ahead and get Victor Wembanyama. That's the lockiest lock of the locks of lockety lockdom. That is just going to happen. It's where number 2 and 3 is the story to me. As it's coming up this Thursday, I think Charlotte and Michael Jordan might do it again. I hope he doesn't. I mean, we shall see, but I have a bad feeling that you guys are going to screw up the number 2 pick. It is between Brandon Miller and Scoot Henderson. Brandon Miller from Alabama is the front runner. I'm not touching Brandon Miller with a 10-foot pole. There is no way in hell you can convince me to go ahead and touch that kid after everything that happened. I talked about this in like the first podcast I ever started as I started this run of Tricky Guy here. Brandon Miller of Alabama. We talked about his story ad nauseum, what happened with him.
Alabama!
I mean, it just reeked of all the SEC, think of, Nicky Satan, Alabama football, cover up, trying to, put sports over everything, including the life of a mother and a child. The mother is now gone, and they didn't even suspend him, let him continue to play basketball.
Alabama!
And for anyone that wants to say, fine, okay, technically he did not break any laws. He didn't. Brandon Miller, in the end, did not break any laws. But right now, we're not in a courtroom. We're not on Law and Order. Right now, we're in trying to figure out the law and order of the number 2 and the number 3 pick in the NBA draft. And if I'm the Charlotte Hornets, and I said this all the way back, I don't give a damn what time he comes up. Unless it's like way late in the late first and he just completely falls. But if I'm talking about a top pick, a franchise-changing pick that's supposed to make or break the next few years of my organization, the last thing I'm doing is touching a kid who, besides the fact, let's remind you, but let's also ignore and go into the second part of this. The fact is, Brandon Miller was involved in providing a handgun that led to the death of a young woman and now a child who no longer has a mother. And you can say that he didn't know like he did. You can try to pretend that he had no idea what was going on. The fact is, we do know for a fact that the other teammate, so when he brought the gun to his teammate, who then brought it to someone else, who then led to the shooting, the fact is, when that second teammate texted him, he texted him, "Bring me my joint." That's what he said. Brandon loves to sit here and go, no. I went over there after he texted me, "Bring me my joint," and I brought him his stuff, but it was like a bag of clothes, and it was in the back seat, and I had absolutely no clue. I had no clue that he was talking about a gun. I had no idea. It's not my fault. It wasn't me. I didn't do it.
It wasn't me.
Excuse my French, but that's absolute horseshit. I don't buy it. I don't believe it. If you do, you're stupid. I'm sorry. If we have enough, I can't allegedly, I have to say allegedly, but allegedly, if someone said that they had brought a gun that later led to a murder, and I know that that guy who you brought the gun to texted you within an hour of you bringing it, said, "Bring me my joint," and you have the nerve afterwards to go, "I just thought I was bringing him a duffel bag. I thought I was just going to go ahead and bring him a little bit of Capri Sun and a snack." Shut up. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it, stop it, stop it. So that part already bothers me enough. And the fact that Alabama, by the way, because they're Ala-freaking-Bama, didn't suspend the kid, didn't do anything to punish him. Matter of fact, tried to make him the victim. In case you don't remember that, their head coach, Jesus H. Christ, Alabama. They went out of their way to be like, "No, he's actually really sweet, and we just don't want to suspend him. And actually, you guys are being kind of hard on him." And Okay, set that scene. You now know that if nothing else, he most likely knowingly brought a gun to his buddy, allegedly brought it to go ahead and set up something that led to the death of a woman. After this is where, as a GM, I'm not touching the kid. I don't give a damn what he is. I know he's the SEC Player of the Year. I can bring up what he did in the NCAA tournament and why that should deter you as a number 2 overall pick. But the fact that a week later, he's not been suspended. He is not in trouble. He's actually somehow getting away with all of this when I've seen players get suspended for very long times for, I don't know, missing practice. Well enough bringing a handgun that led to a shooting. A week later, and I don't care that he did this all season, the fact that he did not have the basic understanding that his intro, when he put his arms out and feigned a pat down, was not a good idea, tells me all the things I need to know. Whether he's a sweet kid or not, he's not very bright.
I ain't got a good
The lights are only going to get brighter for a Brandon Miller when he comes to the NBA. This guy was involved in something that led to the death of a woman and brought a gun to it, and still a week later did not have the basic understanding that even though you might have been doing that all season, that doing anything revolving around something, including a gun, is a terrible look for someone who's going to be a top 3 pick, and you know he had people around him. There's no way you can tell me with a straight face, if you're a general manager and a week after all that went down and you went and saw this as he introduced himself, as they did their pregame lineup little intro dances and stuff, that Brandon Miller went out and did this. Yeah, but he did it all year. Kiss my ass. I don't care. A woman just died a week ago and you are at least somehow involved with it. And, it's more about he's going to take flight and whatever. It's feigning a check down for a pistol is what it is. I mean, God dang. I can only be so... Like, come on, man. Like, that's a pat down. That's what that is. One more time in case you just want to go ahead and piss me off. Tell me that's not a pat down and I'll call you a liar to your face. Yay, Brandon Miller. Woman just died. That's a pat down. Stop it. Anything else is bullcrap. You're lying.
Dopey talk. That's dopey dum-dum talk.
If I'm a GM, I'm not touching him. I'm not touching that. With the number 2 pick, are you out of your mind? I don't give a damn how good he is. I mean, he doesn't have... It is so hard to keep your head straight in the National Basketball Association. Ask, Allen Iverson. Ask John Morant. Ask Zion Williamson. Ask, how many cautionary tales do I have to go to of people that showed you levels of stupidity that don't seem to figure it out? The more you enable them and the more you continue to not show them any repercussions for their actions. The idea that he's going to suddenly be the sweet kid, maybe he will. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. I do know that I have to go by what you've shown me, and what you've shown me is that you're a liar. I don't believe you. I don't believe when someone said, bring me my joint, and that happened to be a gun that you had no clue that was going on. You're completely full of it to me on that. And second of all, that a week later, you were still so tone deaf that you thought anything involving even the reference to doing this and making a pat down gesture was a good idea in any way, shape, or form. Dude, what are you going to do with $100 million? What are you going to do when every girl on the planet wants to bang you? What are you going to do when you have every opportunity to do anything you want, whenever you want, and even less rules applied to you? You can try to explain it to me. You can try to tell me I'm crazy. You can try to tell me I'm wrong. I don't understand you. I don't
get it.
Not doing it with number 2. Not to mention, just on a basketball level, let's go ahead and kick out all the, shut up and dribble, he's being whatever, if you want to go ahead and put me there. Nah. But still, if you want to throw all of that out there, all the obvious, holy Jesus Christ red flags of stuff like that happening when you're giving up a number 2 pick to go ahead and get somebody, let's go ahead and keep it on the court. You want to keep it on the court? Fine. You want to talk about this? Let's go ahead and get into it. Let me go ahead and enlighten you how good he was when it mattered.
Let me enlighten you about your new friend here, about what he's really like.
I hate to go off on this kid, but I have to a little bit because this is just absolutely insanity. In the NCAA tournament, and when I think of guys who had some time in college, and I think of the ones who did well in the tournament versus ones who didn't, it matters to me. Because that shows me when the lights are on that you can still perform. That, when the pressure's on, that you show me something. Think of all the way back to little Steve Nash. One of the reasons he only got drafted barely when he did in the first round is because of the run he pulled off at Santa Clara, making this insane run in the NCAA tournament. You think of Steph Curry at Davidson. He had all this hype. Then he went out and got little Davidson out to the Elite Eight. You think of the big one for me was, I remember at the time, everyone was all over the balls. They were just balls. Lonzo Ball Remember this? It wasn't that long ago. Do you remember Lonzo Ball was considered like the greatest prospect before Wembanyama, basically? It was Lonzo Ball, Lonzo Ball, Lonzo Ball. When he faced De'Aaron Fox in the tournament, De'Aaron Fox kicked his ass, ate his lunch. I watched that game and I said, look, I don't give a damn about this Ball kid. I'll go ballless. Give me Fox. Give me that Fox kid. That kid's the killer. That kid's the baller. And so far, once again, now I have proof on other social media platforms and stuff, but you're just going to have to go ahead and take my word for it. The second I saw that, I was going everywhere I could to say, give me Fox. I ain't touching the other kid. Show me someone.
Man, I'm tired of being right.
Who go ahead and does it when the lights are on. When the lights were on for Brandon Miller, he did not perform. He performed actually historically crappy. Brandon Miller had 3 NCAA tournament games, and not against juggernauts, against my boys in Corpus Christi, A&M Corpus Christi, Maryland, and San Diego State. I mean, yes, SDSU did turn out to be pretty good, but I mean, overall, this is not, he didn't go against Kentucky, North Carolina, Duke. You know what I mean? In those 3 games, Brandon Miller shot 8 of 41. That is 19.5%. He shot 15.8% from threes. Do you know that those 3 games combined, Brandon Miller had the worst shooting percentage for anyone who shot 40 or more attempts in 64 seasons? In 64 NCAA tournaments, there was no player who took at least 40 shots in the NCAA tournament in the last 64 seasons that shot worse than Brandon Miller did when the lights were on, when it mattered the most. He shot 19% from the field. He shot 15% from 3. This is also a guy who had some involvement in a fatal shooting and a week later feigned a pat down. And I think that Michael Jordan and the Charlotte Hornets are going to go ahead and take him at number 2.
Is this real life?
That's amazing. I mean, there is now, the report does say, by the way, that they are re-auditioning the number 2 pick. This will be the first time that MJ himself is going to be able to look at Scoot and go ahead and look at Brandon. And but that Miller does remain the front runner at the number 2 pick, and we shall see. This is Michael Jordan's basically last dance as a general manager, just so you know. Michael Jordan did go ahead and sell his Charlotte Hornets majority stake. He did sell it to a group and is going to make big boy money off of that because, let's face it, Jordan needed more money.
Money, money, money. Money, money, money.
The guy needed more outlets. You know what I mean? Between his $1 billion shoe contract, all the money he made in Chicago and everywhere else, and all the other ventures he did, he's gonna, he's just about to sell the Hornets and make even more money. But before that happens, this is his last opportunity because there is that little, they got to vet the new group. There's going to be time. So before the draft goes, this is still MJ's decision. This is, to me, up there with like, ooh, man, this is a guy who's picked Adam Morrison, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. You know what I mean? He's had some whiffs, man. I just think it's to me, it's a no-brainer that if I'm looking at the 2 based on what I've seen a Scoot Henderson get against the number 1 kid in the planet and say, I'm going to go ahead and try to go at him. I'm going to go ahead and be aggressive. I see another kid who's got off-court issues, and when the lights were on, did not show me enough to tell me that he's going to be able to handle even more pressure that's involved in the NBA. You showed me one who looked at Victor and said, come here, you little frog, and let's go ahead and dance. You showed me another who not only had his issues, but failed when the lights were on and when it mattered most. And I still think he's somehow going to get picked above Scoot, and it's a long time to find out, but I think this might be MJ's last bad pick before we move on. So I will move on after making that point because the big one obviously is Victor Wembanyama. I'll make a quick mention of this. Look, I mean, there's nothing to not like. I mean, I don't know if he's the greatest prospect ever in the history of Everdom. I really think that Wojnarowski got a little bit off his rocker with that.
I am a dumb.
In case you missed that. So this was right after San Antonio got the number 1 pick where everyone went bananas. He was on some sort of NBA show here, Mr. Woj himself, and had the nerve to say this.
This is the most highly anticipated player to ever enter the NBA. And this is maybe not only the greatest prospect in the NBA's history, maybe the greatest prospect in the history of team sports.
Wow. So
Jesus H. Christ. I mean, that's a lot to put on a 19-year-old skinny French kid. But good Lord, he is the greatest prospect ever. He is the savior. He's the, forget Shaq, forget LeBron, forget Elway, forget in baseball Bryce Harper, forget Sid the Kid, forget Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. The greatest thing we've ever seen in the history of team sports in the modern era is this guy. Oh, here he comes. Here comes Victor to save everyone's life. And the Spurs are going to win the finals the next 8 in a row. take it easy. Maybe take it easy. I like the kid. He's obviously in the right environment. You know what I mean? He's obviously in a good situation where he's going to San Antonio, where they go ahead and they loved him, the Frenchies. We are going to take the Victor. We're going to make him star. We're going to give him the vino. We're going to give him the San Antonio big women to eat the churros, just as Charles Barkley. And we're going to have a good time. He's going to have sex with everyone on the Riverwalk. And then he's going to score 817 points a game. In between 9 championships in only 7 years, we will figure it out because we love the French. Tony Parker, Boris Diaw, and now Victor Wembanyama is coming to us. Was that too much? Was that a little bit offensive in my French accent? I feel like the French accent is one of the few I can still just be completely stereotypical, and it's fine. Just, I am here, I'm Pierre, I'm going to have sex with everyone that you know. Oh, croissant. It is fun to watch his prospect videos in French, though. You got to give me that. Because Victor Wembanyama, like I said, #1 pick without a question. It's going to happen. 7'5", only 19 years old, huge wingspan, can shoot threes, can do it all. But listening to him play in the French league and having French people announce it has to be the most fun you could have, possibly watching basketball in the history of ever. Let me go ahead and where do I have that? Oh, tell me I have it. Yes, it is right here. Victor Wembanyama highlights with the Frenchy talk.
Défendu par Alan Dokossi, il va vouloir jouer Victor. La bonne défense d'Alan Dokossi, le tir. Oh là là, mais quel tir extraordinaire! Pour l'instant, l'option le ballon peut-être gagné. Non, finalement, Victor qui dribble entre les jambes. Oh, il va prendre sur un pied. Ça tombe dedans! Et avec la faute en plus! Pour Alan Dokossi, ça relance à Fumama en contre-attaque! Il est rejeté par Victor Wembanyama à la transition. Milan Barbic qui fait.
Oh!
Pour Thompson.
Get that shit out of here. I mean, look, the kid is nice. And let me go ahead and turn down the volume for a second, and let me just go ahead and analyze what we're seeing here. I mean, the kid is 19 years old, 7'5". Look at that handle. Look at that handle. That is bananas. A fadeaway with 2 people in his face, smooth as a Ray Allen jumper. I mean, comes off, is able to improvise, obviously. Dribbles in between much shorter people. A Dirk Nowitzki one-legged three-pointer on improv is bananas. That's bananas. I mean, the kid is 7'5". He's only 19 years old, and he improvised this. I mean, he got into a situation where the ball got loose, had to think of something, and just was able to put up a 3-point one-legged floater in the middle of a game improvisationally and got the foul to go with it. And then, of course, this is the other side where you want to salivate if you're a San Antonio fan, the defense. Go ahead and give me that, just like I'll take your girlfriend as soon as I get on your team. I'm going to go ahead and take that ball, too, because you're a little girl. Let me go ahead and get rid of that for you. Oh, that's cute. You want to shoot? No, thank you. I mean, I get it. I get why you're excited. Who wouldn't be excited? That's a hell of a prospect there. I'm not here to diss that. I'm just saying we'll see. I would be very careful as far as just in general. And let me go ahead and make this point. I want to go ahead and make this point as far as all the draft and just overall. You do realize this. And I'm going to go ahead and give you a fact that's going to blow your mind one more time. So let me go ahead and get everything ready here. How sure is the top 3 pick? How sure is the top 3 pick? I want to make this one last point, then I'm going to get to some fun videos here. Just so you know, and there was a study done, this was back in 2014, but I've looked even past this. So from 1976, since the NBA-ABA merger, to 2014, when it comes to the NBA draft, the top 3 picks, do you know that it's only slightly better than a coin flip that you'll even get a decent player? Not a franchise-level player, not a game-changing player. It is a coin flip that you will get an average rotational player from 1976 to 2014. It only happened 54% of the time.
What does that do? Does that blow your mind?
This is how unsure it is. And it's only going to get worse with these young kids and you not know. And I mean, they don't have the 4 years that they used to, but with a win per 48-minute average that was above average. So basically, this was the stat that a man named David Barry found and wrote this article. And he pointed out that with this average, this wins per 48-minute average, that's just above average, which was, quote, basically half of all rotational players in the National Basketball Association. From 1976 to 2014, only 54.3% were even just a rotational player, not a game changer, a rotational player.
Damn, Daniel.
Not to mention that only 2 classes out of all of those draft classes had 3 that were all at least decent players. So basically one of those 3 from 1976 to 2014, almost at least 1 per the top 3 just didn't even become an average player and kind of flamed out. In the top 3 picks, 1 out of the top 3 usually flamed out, and usually the other one didn't even become that much of a rotational player. Only 1 would ever become something that would be up to a game changer. But there was only 2 classes that had all 3 become at least decent. That was 1984 with Michael Jordan, Akeem Olajuwon, and Sam Bowie. And that was obviously Michael Jordan and Akeem Olajuwon. Oh, but that's considered the greatest draft class of all time if you know your history. And then 1999 had Baron Davis, Steve Francis, and Elton Brand. None of them went on to become Michael Jordan or Akeem Olajuwon. So yes, you can point to 1984, and I could say, okay, you Orwellian conspiracy theorist there. It's very cute, but it's very rare. So just don't get too goofy. It's just a pick. And I know, and I'm going to go ahead, and I know you want to get Jesse Spano. I get it. It's a top 3 pick.
I'm so excited.
You know, be into it. But also be a little bit nervous. Be a little bit nervous because you just don't know. So maybe your argument is, okay, well, what about past 2014? What about in the last 10 years? It's a great point. Let's go ahead and go to the board, shall we? Let me go ahead and get this picture up. Since 2014, let's look at these draft classes and see what we have here. I will read each one in case you go ahead and need to see. This is 2013. It went Anthony Bennett, complete washout, Victor Oladipo, Otto Porter Jr. Okay. 2014, the top 3 picks were Andrew Wiggins, Parker, and Joel Embiid. Now, Joel Embiid was the best player, obviously, we've seen in a while, but he was the number 3 pick. 2015, what were the top 3? Karl Anthony Towns, D'Angelo Russell, and Jahlil Okafor, who did not live up to be much. 2016, the top 3 picks were Ben Simmons, Brandon Ingram, and Jaylen Brown. Now, that's a decent class. Now, that's not 1984, but that's a hell of a top 3 right there in Simmons, Ingram, and Brown, although Simmons has gone off the deep end again. He's photoshopping pictures online like he's the Kardashian of his workout videos. He's been sitting out, even though he was considered, that was at the time considered one of the top prospects we've ever seen in the history of ever. So keep an eye on that. In 2017, the top 3 picks were Lonzo Ball, Markelle Fultz, and Jason Tatum. Other than Jason Tatum, we really don't have much to come out of that draft now, do we? 2018, we had Ayton, Bagley, and Luka Doncic. Now, Luka is obviously a transitional great player, but he was number 3, so keep an eye on that. 2019 was Zion, Ja, and RJ Barrett. Now, there's a top 3 that at least all of them are rotational, but the problem is you can't keep Ja out of getting in guns and getting suspended and almost going to jail. But talent-wise, you have it there. Talent-wise, you at least have the other situations. Now, number 20, 2020, you have Anthony Edwards, James Wiseman, Melo Ball. Again, at least a good draft class as far as we've seen. And the newer ones we're still going to find out. 2021 was Cunningham Green, Evan Mobley. Last year, Paolo, Chet Holmgren, Jabari Smith. Overall point to all of this rant was that basically this is just still a we'll see approach. Just because it's a top 3, only half of these guys even become a decent player. Very few. When you look at all of that from 2013 all the way till now, of the 30 picks that I just read you, we only had 1 MVP in Joel Embiid, although Luka Doncic is close. And then you had 1 real champion as far as Andrew Wiggins. But other than that, you either have some decent players, some all-stars, but not a lot to show for it. So just, take it in. Be excited for the draft. Be happy for it. You could get something transitional. Victor Wembanyama could be the greatest thing we've ever seen. We don't know. And we will find out, and I'm very excited to find out. But until then, it's all a lot of prospect. It's all a lot of conjecture. It's all a lot of maybe this, maybe that. We will find out pretty soon, and we'll find out what they're going to do, and I'm very actually into what's going to happen. This NBA draft is going to be one of the more exciting NBA drafts when you consider, after Victor, what is the fallout between Scoot and Brandon? Are there any big trades? Guys like Golden State and others, there's been rumors that they might go ahead and get something into it. Kuminga might be thrown up there. I've heard Trae Young's name thrown in there. There's a lot of things going on that could be very, very interesting, and we will discuss it, of course, when I return. However, I'm looking at the clock. I had other stuff I want to bring you. It's video time.
You seen it? You seen it? Don't look at me. Don't look at me, little of a bitch.
Have you seen this? Have you read about this?
All right, so this was my video. This is just the time I like to have some fun at the end of the show. I like to bring you either fun videos, silly videos, ones that might make you cringe. All of these are available and really accessible when you go to Tricky Guy Sports on YouTube, and you can ride right along with us and see why we're laughing, cringing, or doing anything in between. First video I want to bring you. What do I have so much. I have so many good ones today. It's redonkulous. I could start off with the cute one. You want to see a dog play volleyball? This is just fun. Now I'm going to get some crazy ones. Let's just start off easy. Let's start off with an aperitif, as it were. Look at this, dog playing volleyball. This is amazing. Hey, Dad. Oh, hit it up. I got this. Boink. Look at this dog. He clearly knows what he's doing. Like, he understands. I don't know if he understands the 3-tap rule. Look at this dog go. Little Labrador mix looking thing. Dude, he sets up a nice ball. Like, this dog can play volleyball. This is great. Look at this. Look at the little Bubba. He's such a good volleyball player. He's a big boy. It's a bad setup by Dad. It's Dad's fault. Dad, you definitely blew that one. But that's just cute. So that's a good way to go ahead and kick things off here. Dog playing volleyball. Dogs are pretty amazing. They can do a lot of cool stuff. Get a dog. If you don't have a dog, go get a dog. That can transition me, though, into wild animals. Okay, I had video stuff I want to bring you. We're just going to go ahead and call this the wild animal segment. There are some wild animals in the world of sports, including, let's start with John Daly. Y'all remember John Daly? This guy was a legend in the early, late 90s, 2000s, and has been in and out of rehab, has had all sorts of issues, but is the closest to like a real-life Happy Gilmore that we've ever seen in professional golf. He's still around. I mean, the guy is a legendary guy. He's been, they caught him smoking cigarettes on the PGA Tours, played hungover and drunk, actually had some really big successful moments, hit a long drive that just went a bajillion yards at the time. He was an everyday man. He was, all of that put together. We really loved him. And he continued to have multiple divorces and drink a bunch and get into drugs and do all sorts of stuff that you're not supposed to be doing. But he does still hit a long drive, so that's nice. Yeah, John Daly is a little bit of a crazy man, but he does still hit a long drive. Here's John Daly being a wild animal, hitting a golf ball off a beer can off the tee with a couple of young ladies behind him. Just got his, he got his swim trunks on. Got a couple girls in short skirts right here. Yeah, let's set up that beer can and put a golf ball. I'm going to crush this thing over them mountains. Look at John. Guts sticking out. Full beard. I mean, he should be envious of Nick Nolte. Nick Nolte looks like Bradley Cooper next to that. Jesus H. Christ. But don't ask John about it, because John apparently will steal your girl. This little rant I found is not safe for work. This is not safe for sensitive ears, but this is John Daly. And talk about a wild animal. Jesus, someone showed this to me the other day on Insta after I saw this one. John Daly may look like, Nick Nolte completely let go, even for a Nick Nolte, but don't think he won't bring it to your girl, apparently, and do everything else that he can, because he's a wild animal and he's John freaking Daly.
You can't drink like me. You can't smoke like me. And I guarantee your not as big as mine. You can't like me. So don't try and be like me. Get your straight and let's party together. You.
Don't hear a lot of PGA guys with a knowing camera in front of them talk like that, do you? It's a lot there, John. But hey, people love him. How about we go way sweeter than that? Father's Day was yesterday. That's nice. Father's Day was yesterday. We had Tiger Woods. This is very cute. This is the Tiger has done a lot of stuff with a lot of certain ladies off the off the green, as it were, with, ladies of the night.
Hooker, prostitute, slut for money.
A lot of us know about Tiger's history there, but he has become a great dad, and his son Charlie is seeming right in his footsteps. I mean, talk about a spitting image of Tiger Woods. That is his baby. There's no question about that. And this is a clip that they caught of him talking about his son. Typical father-son competitiveness here. Problem is, your dad's Tiger Woods. Even if you're Charlie, who's a very good golfer and a very good golfer at his young age and is starting to catch up to Tiger. Tiger's Tiger for a reason. And so this is a cute little, Father's Day-ish clip. Tiger talking about his son recently outdrove him once.
Has Charlie beat you yet?
Not yet. Yeah, drove me the other day, though.
Shut up. Like, Rob was saying he's carrying 260, but like even if he carries a 260, that still should not drive you.
I hit a little spinner into the wind, and he did just a tomahawk.
Does he play from the same tees as you?
Yeah.
Just tips it out. And...
Yeah, he doesn't play the Tiger tees, but he'll play the blacks. I'm like, damn.
That must have sucked when he
Oh.
found his ball. First time or no?
First time, yeah.
So it's coming.
It's coming. He wants to beat me before it
But
turns 14.
I guess from those tees though, it's still hard though. It's not like if it's a long hole. I mean, are there long holes?
Yeah.
So
he wants to beat me by the time he turns 14.
Nah.
Okay.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Tiger says, by 14, yeah, good luck. Good luck with it. I'm still Tiger Woods. I'm competitive to a fault, and I'm going to kick your ass. I don't give a damn if I'm your dad or not. But shout out to all the fathers out there. Mothers get all the love.
No kind of saying this, you're wrong. Mama's right.
Mother's Day is the most celebrated holiday, short of like Christmas. Father's Day is at like 28th or something. Fathers kind of have to take in the background and just, take their victories when they can. But it sounds like Tiger still gets his when he still can. But Charlie's coming, man. Charlie might be the next new one. We'll see. We'll see what we got there. Maybe we'll call him the Lion because he took out the Tiger. Is that too corny? Whatever. Look, speaking of wild animals, I thought this was cute real quick because, again, they just made them different back in the day. Do you remember a soccer player named Diego Maradona? This dude was raw. You want to talk about just athletes were different once upon a time. Just so you know this. This new age era of anxiety and mental health breaks and, I don't know, they were wild animals. A lot of these guys that were the legends, the best ones, were out of their mind. Social media would have had them kicked out of every God knows what and canceled, I don't even know, in 5 seconds. Wild animals. This guy's one of the best soccer players of all time, and here's a clip of him doing cocaine on the field. Saw this the other day. Goal! I scored a goal! What's that? It's a big white bag. Right on the field. Right on the damn field. I got to show you that one more time. So in case you didn't see it, you can clearly see the bag at one point here. Where is at least a good view of it? I mean, it's a little blurry, but look, that's a white bag. Takes a snort. There you go. And apparently after he got all gacked up, this is what he did to people in you think of the soccer players now that fall down and hold their ankle. Diego Maradona did not fall down and hold his ankle. He decided to go ham on the entire damn pitch. Look at this dude. Look at this dude go. I'm sorry, that was a flying knee. I have to see all that one more time. So here's back to him getting gacked up. But then, pow! Look at him going after everyone. What an absolute psycho. I love it. What an absolute nut job. Look at him, just prouder than he could be. Anything else? That's like just putting a demon on the pitch.
Devil 666, the mark of the beast.
Wild animals, man. Wild animals. For people, by the way, including myself, picking on Zion Williamson, since I'm kind of on this theme. And then I did have one baseball thing, a really important one I want to bring you here, but I'm having some fun real quick. For all of us, including myself, who picked on Zion Williamson for after his gender reveal, did have the OnlyFans lady who he was banging on the side, who apparently does do things,
Hooker, prostitute, slut for money.
eviscerate him on Twitter, and now his personal business out on the street. Again, with social media, a lot of guys, personal business and all the sex that they have, I mean, they're not unusual. Athletes have been banging people for a long time. Magic Johnson, my favorite player of all time, obviously, famously, was HIV positive. And I remember the day. It was November 12th, 1991 or 92. It's one of those, but it's right around when I was 12 years old. I remember this happening. And, I mean, this is an old interview. But in case you want to just think that it's a new thing or that this hasn't been going on since athletes have been athletes, Magic discussed after he was revealed to be HIV positive, famously in this interview, the lifestyle that he led. And I mean, ladies, look, if you're married to a professional athlete, short of offensive lineman, a dart player, or a bowler, I just think you got to understand what you're getting into, because these guys get into a lot of different ladies. Old clip, in case you're wondering how Magic got what he got, stuff like this.
Sex in an elevator?
Yeah, different women have different fantasies, and you wanted to make sure they reach their fantasies. That was my thing.
But I mean, you were Magic Johnson.
That's all right. You didn't mind being a daredevil every now and then.
Sex in an office with people next door in the boardroom?
There's always a look about a woman that you can tell something about to happen.
And so what happened?
She gave me that look, and I said, oh, not here. She said, yeah, here. Don't have any panties on, so let's go. But that's the first time I ever had sex and sweating at the same time. My eyes are over here, not on the person I'm having sex with, believe me.
You're wondering what's going on in the boardroom.
Well, hoping somebody don't hit that door. Yeah. Like I said, women have different fantasies. Some want to be with 2 or 3 at a time. One time I had 6 at one time. That's just
6 women.
6 women.
Now, was that their fantasy or your fantasy?
That was both. Probably mostly mine.
I got to tell you, you're sending me mixed messages. Because on the one hand, you're saying to me, safe sex, responsible sex, what I did was immoral. And even now, as you tell the stories, I mean, you make it sound pretty good.
I'm not sending you mixed messages. That was my life. If you ask me if I had fun, yes, I had fun. Did you reach all your fantasies? Yes, I did. But you paid for it.
And did he ever? I mean, he's technically okay, and I mean, I could make a lot of comments and jokes about it, but it comes with a price, man. Comes with a price. Yikes. Okay, speaking of wild animals, speaking of things not going the way that we would all hope, I got to end on this one. I'm going to go ahead and call it a day. Okay, so I need to go ahead. This is a baseball story, and it's a baseball story that a lot of people missed, and I think it's a much bigger deal than people made it out to be.
Baseball stuff!
Okay, just yesterday, there is a pitcher named Lance Lynn for the Chicago White Sox. Now, I showed you some John Daly stuff, and oh boy, I don't know. He kind of talks like this on the mound himself. Lance Lynn is kind of the old school. He just seems like a wild animal, loose cannon, complete psychopath on the pitcher's mound here. And he had himself a hell of a day, and I want to talk about him. In case y'all know what I'm talking about, it's this guy. Look at this dude. This guy's named Lance Lynn. He's an absolute wild man, grabbing his crotch after a strikeout. Here's a zoom in case you missed it. I mean, this is old school. This is yeah. Go ahead, he's taunting people. This is supposed to be no-nos in baseball. Struck out this Astro, then left with an FUB. Or is this one? Okay, so this one, he strikes him out. I mean, this dude is an absolute animal of a pitcher. So that's Lance Lynn. Lance Lynn did something that should have been at least an opportunity to make complete history and didn't, because baseball is the worst, most frustrating, stupid-ass sport on the planet, and the way they do things drives me absolutely bananas.
Frustrating. It's frustrating. It's frustrating.
Lance Lynn was pitching for the White Sox last night. Lance Lynn, through 7 innings, had 16 strikeouts. 16 strikeouts. This is the last one here. So there you go. He's walking off the mound. At this point in the game, through 7 innings, this behemoth right here had 16 strikeouts through 7 innings. That was the tie for the all-time White Sox record in franchise history. Some guy in 1954, Jack Harshman, if I'm not mistaken, also had 16 strikeouts in one game in a 9-inning game for the Chicago White Sox for the franchise record that Lance Lynn tied. But he got 9 innings to do it because back in the day when a pitcher was rolling and you were doing good and you had a chance to, make history, you didn't worry about pitch counts. You didn't worry about all the nonsense. I hate it so much. I hate it. It makes baseball so hard to like and tolerate. I love Ohtani and Trout out in Los Angeles. I love the story they got going on there. The Tampa Rays doing well. All that is great. Shohei, Showtime. I'm digging it. But when I try to get into a baseball game and I look at someone who had 16 strikeouts through 7 innings and had a chance to not just break the Chicago White Sox all-time record with 2 innings and 6 batters left to do it, but the fact is that he had a chance. The all-time record ever is 20 strikeouts in a complete 9-inning game. The fact that you didn't let him at least go out for the 8th inning to go ahead and see if, A, he could break history, and 2, maybe chase the all-time history. This guy's in his later 30s. It's going to be very rare that he ever has an opportunity to do it. And look at that guy. Look at that guy. Does that look like someone who gives a damn about a pitch count, who might think, oh, my elbow, I might need the Tommy John? Does this look like a guy who doesn't have the ability to tough out an extra inning if he has a chance to chase all-time history? There are 2 sides of this. There's the right side and there's the wrong side. If you have the audacity to tell me that they were smart in taking him out as he had just tied the franchise record with 16 Ks and had an opportunity with 6 batters left to chase all-time history and at least break the White Sox record, and that it was a smart idea to sit him, you're wrong.
The price is wrong.
You're wrong. There was no reason to not let this man go chase history. This is why baseball pisses me off. I can't stand it. Again, I'm going to go ahead and just show you the highlights. Does this look like a guy who couldn't maybe go ahead and try to stretch out a couple more innings? I ask you this sincerely. Look at this dude. Does this really strike you as someone who really worries about pitch count, who worries about arm rest? Does this dude at all make you think that he couldn't go out and, chase all-time freaking history? Look at this animal. Look at this wild animal. Does he strike you as someone who needed it? Baseball, you suck. You suck. I don't get your new sport. I don't get your pitch count stuff. It's not even really working out, by the way. We're not even able to prove that it's not causing just as much or many injuries as it did before. But this John Daly-esque psychopath here was on his way to maybe make the greatest game ever pitched ever. At least had the opportunity to do it. He had 6 batters left. He only had to strike out. He had to strike out 5 more. But if he strikes out 4, he ties all time. And maybe he was going to do it. Who knows? We'll never know because you asswipes decided to sit him because of a pitch count. Because you got to go ahead and we got to go and preserve the arm. And who cares about him having the greatest moment of his life, possibly?
I hate.
And by the way, I don't care what he said afterwards. I don't care if he said it was a good idea. All of you are wrong. I am right on this. Whatever. I'm out of time and I got to go. But pitch counts are stupid. Drafting Brandon Miller second is stupid. Damian Lillard not getting to Miami is stupid. And you not tuning in every time we do one of these is stupid. But I love you, and I can't wait to talk to you again. Bye-bye.